one, and this is the Sourceseeker Hour. I am your host, Baruti Carl Alexander. It is so glad to be back online and on episode with a beautiful cast, a beautiful array of guests. I'm so appreciative that so many powerful people showed up for this particular episode on the soul of Black America. Very deep subject, can go a lot of different directions. The soul of Black America. We're going to talk about where that soul is. What's going on? Are we in a better state of being, or are we in a worse state? I have talked about many times, we are in a state of rising culture. We got the Black Lives Matter movement. We got different things going on that talking about Black pride, but we also have a lot of negative things. One of the things I have a problem with, and maybe I'm the only one, but there's so much negativity as far as what's on TV and going to our kids. You know, I have 3 kids, and what they see on TV, I'm not so, I don't like that so much. And we're going to talk about some of those things. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe you all will correct me. But I would like to introduce our guest for this powerful program on the Sourceseeker Hour. This is our 94th episode. And I would like to start with Sister Cassandra. Can you start the introduction?
Sure. It's always a pleasure being here with you again on this amazing Sourceseeker Hour broadcast. My name is Cassandra Barnes. I am a registered nurse as well as a licensed psychotherapist. I am the owner of the Victoria Barnes Mental Health and Wellness Center. And so my approach to mental health wellness is fully comprehensive from both a medical and a therapeutic perspective. And so, again, I am so grateful to participate in this discussion on today.
Thank you very much. And as always, blessings, peace and power to you, my powerful sister. I thank you so much. You always right there for me, and I appreciate you very, very much. I would like to go to our next introduction. Sister Sheba, tell us about yourself and what's been going on.
How you been, Baruti?
Pretty good, Sheba.
I've been doing just fine, okay. And as you know, well, I'm an artist of every genre. I sew, cook, but I mainly do handcrafted jewelry. And basically that's it. I'm just an artist, a simple artist.
And I would like to add that my latest book, my 8th book, she drew the cover for. So I appreciate that also. And super powerful sister, I'm so appreciative that you're here with me today, here with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alderman Murray, are you there to introduce yourself?
You know I'm here. How you doing?
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, the young lady says she's just an artist. She is a phenomenal artist, makes music, and music makes the world go round. My name is Arnetta Murray. I'm an educator, elected official, what a Rotarian, part of NAACP. I'm just appointed to the Texas Municipal League of Austin, making sure that our voices get heard. So I'm just grateful to be here. I was with Eric Muhammad on Saturday in his summit. So I'm just about the community. I want to thank Mr. Warren. He's the one that got me in the Rotary. So thank you everybody, and I'm just grateful to be here.
And I want to add that I believe you all met in the studio on the Sourceseeker Hour. Is that true?
You better tell the truth. That's true. That's true.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sister Karen, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Karen Coney, and I have my own business tutoring students. I go into the homes and I tutor students, as well as sometimes in the schools, Katy ISD, HISD, KIP Academy. And I have been tutoring for years, started with my very own, using various methods to try to help get our children on track so they can be ready to compete after high school, and if they choose to go to college or beyond, whatever they decide to do, I try to get them ready. And I also do praise and worship with children's ministries for my church that I attend. And I've been doing that for about, I guess, 15 years now, close to it. I also work with children and teens, and I've been doing that for over 30 years. And I just love working with children and teens. And my passion is children and teens. I just love to help get our next generation ready for the future.
Thank you very much. Very appreciative that you joined us today. Well, this is going to be such a powerful program. Let's continue with our introductions. Then we're going to get right into the subject matter. Brother Warren, share with everybody who you are and what you do.
Dr. Alexander, first of all, thank you for having me this evening on your show. It's always an honor to be to share a platform with you. And I am Warren Houston. I'm the creator and organizer of the People's Law Study Group, former host of the Know Thyself radio show, which aired on the Know Thyself radio network on Blog Talk. And as Miss Arnetta Murray said, and we went on the Sourceseeker Hour show. I'm a part of the 1.2 million member global society of Rotary. And I am the president of the Galleria River Oaks Rotary Club. I serve as the Herman Park Rotary Club. 2 years ago, I served as the assistant governor for Galleria River Oaks and the Houston International Club on last year, and came back to be the president of the Galleria River Oaks Club this year. And so that's pretty much my resume. I'm in the legal field. I'm a lawyer, and that's it. That's pretty much explains me.
Thank you, my brother. Peace and power always. Thank you very much. And I would like to go to my brother Eric Muhammad. I have been trying to get him on the show. We finally got him. Thank you, brother Eric. And please introduce yourself and share with the audience.
Assalamu alaikum to you all, and thank you, Brother Alexander, Dr. Alexander, for having me on your show. I'm Brother Student Minister Eric Muhammad, the assistant to the Southwest Regional Minister, Brother Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad, stationed here in Houston, Texas. I'm also the executive director of Action CDC, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. I'm also an author, a father, first a husband, a father, and just all around brother and the love of our people. And Brother Warren, instead of being the governor of Rotary Club, needed to be the governor of Texas, and maybe we could have got a different law passed.
Hey, I'm working on that. I'm working on that.
Yeah, but thank you all.
Speaking into existence.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there are so many things going on in our state. We got the abortion ruling. I was just talking with a young lady at a place. She was talking about the license to carry without restrictions. All these things going on. And then our governor is talking about, no mask, no COVID, and so many different things, and it all affects us. So there's so much to talk about. The soul of Black America is affected by all of these things. What do we feel like? Where are we as a people? Are we being progressive? Have we fallen back? I know we're not a monogamous unit, but as a basic circle of people in our growth, in our approach, where do we feel we are going? Just let's talk about it broad. Let's talk about it broad. Where do we feel we are going? Brother Eric, start with that for us.
Well, when we have to get to the root of it, the first thing is, what is soul? The soul is the essence of man. The scripture tells us talks about God said that in the beginning, God created us in his image and after his likeness. So, and then the scripture also says to us that in that day we'll be changed in the twinkling of an eye. The scripture also says that we shall look like him. So even though we're seeing these negative things in our society, nothing happens outside of the active will or permissive will of God.
You're breaking up a little bit, Brother Eric.
So we are moving towards being, now I have an internet, we're moving towards God in the negative of what we see. I pray you all caught what I was saying. I was running some scriptures down.
Okay. Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit.
Did y'all hear that? Did
Yeah.
y'all hear what I was saying? Just
We
laying the
heard
faith-
it, but it didn't come clear because it was breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a connection problem, but we'll come back to that because
Okay.
I have a couple of things I wanted to say about that. And I want to give everybody a chance to talk about that a little bit. Where are we at as a people in your overall perspective? Sister Cassandra.
As a people, in my overall perspective, it's almost like the tale of two cities. You know, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that book. I'm sure you are. The best
You know I am.
I know. The best of times and the worst of times. It's really strange because this is probably the absolute one of the best seasons of my life. COVID, all of this season has been a tremendous blessing for me personally, as it relates to my career and just inner peace and where I am. I literally have no lack in my life. I'm in just a phenomenal place personally. But when I look at the state of those around me, it's heartbreaking in a sense. I mean, when you look at the issues with the people that's coming from Louisiana and the plight that they're in, that's heartbreaking. It may be an act of nature, but it's still a heartbreaking reality. When you look at open carry, it's a dichotomy because just last week we had two gentlemen, African-American gentlemen, just seated at grottos on outside patio, and two guys decided to come up to rob them, and both of them are now dead. And they were two black men robbing two black men. So we can't blame white culture on that. Another issue for me is that's causing me a lot of stress. I went over to Fifth Ward area here in Houston, patronizing one of my good friends who owns a soul food restaurant. And I don't have occasion to be in those areas often. And when I was driving through off of Lockwood, I saw a lot of properties that had a lot of abandoned cars, a lot of just not kept up at all. And I looked at it and I said, you know, what do we have a right to do as a culture? We fight, well, other cultures are coming in and buying up our property and they want to build high rises and, you know, condos but then, and I get that it happened in Fourth Ward and in Midtown and all of these areas, but then when I go over there, do we have a right just to hold on to property that we can't maintain or keep up? It's a dichotomy. I don't really know how to, you know, you have a right to keep it, but what are you keeping it? What are you doing with it? So when we look at the soul of who we are as a people, we want to fight our battle. My cousin, a woman, I forgot her name, I apologize, who the older woman who is a member of NAACP. My first cousin is president of the Houston chapter of NAACP, Bishop James Dixon. And my family is known for doing a lot of work in this city. My cousin is you know, at the forefront of a lot of work in this city as it relates to human rights, you know, but it's just perplexing, you know, it's perplexing where we are as a people and what we should be fighting for. You know, it's a negative thing. You don't want to see everybody carrying guns. But then my daughter, who's 27, said, well, hey, she's a UPS truck driver. Of course, they can't carry guns and weapons. But it's like, I'm out here by myself. Should I go in and try to get a gun? I actually own a gun and have one, but I don't really want her carrying one. So we look at all of these things as a culture of people, you know, and I don't know that we know what the answers are. You know, do you have a right to just hold your property because you're Black, but you can't keep it up? It's overrun with, you know, junk cars and all of this? Or should we let somebody come and buy your property and build something where it can be inhabited in a different kind of way? So it's a lot of questions that we just have to be real about and ask and have a discussion about for our culture.
I just want to interject this. Often when I hear the discussion about the ineptitude of Black people, I have to remind people of the things that an enemy have done to us. They have put us together in such a way where they discouraged us from working together, and they did so much to our mind and to our spirit to cause that to happen. As well as we've had plenty of examples of being able to work together. You go to the Tulsa riots, you go, and those type of situations happened in over 100 cities or more in the United States, where Black people built great communities, but an enemy came in and destroyed it. So I just want to interject that. Yes, a lot of times we are our own worst enemy, but a lot of times somebody created that atmosphere and environment for us to have that mindset. I want to go to Alderman Murray on the same subject at this time.
You know, that's a loaded question because there's so many variables and situations that's the problem. But for the most part, I think that we have to build each other up. We have to not look at us so negatively and find a way to collaborate and find common ground to help ourselves. I said it today in a session. I don't have a problem with separate but equal. If you're gonna make sure that we're systematically, economically, we're rising. I don't have a problem with it. But the thing is that we're living in a system that is not favorable to African Americans, and we have to find a way to push through. And I agree with what the lady said, who I know your cousin well. We've marched together recently in Austin and other places, Bishop Dixon. I just believe that we're going to have to just work together. We're going to have to really push each other, and we really have to fight against these forces of systematic, and it's just real. I mean, I said it the other day, it's sad that, you know, a lot of Caucasians are rich, but Blacks are not. It should be a lot of Blacks rich as well. And so it's some systematic issues that are in place that we cannot deny, but we still have to do what we need to do and push each other forward. And so that was what I want to say. I'm about 2 minutes. I don't like talking long. My pastor taught me, say your point in 2 minutes and give somebody else a chance. I'm done.
That's right.
Well, that was profound. I'd like to go to Sister Sheba. Sister Sheba, same subject. What is your perspective of that? Are we our own worst enemy?
Oh, you had broke up real bad.
I broke up real bad?
Yeah. Can you say that again?
Okay, yes. What is your perspective of the discussion we've been having so far on are we our own worst enemy, and what is the systematic challenges that we have as Black people?
So far as us being our own worst enemy, we're our own worst enemy when we know about our history, about the Black codes, about systemic racism, about 247, 46 years of working for free, no reparations, knowing about our history, and we don't do anything about it. You know, a lot of us are sellouts. We just get a good job, we make a lot of money, and we don't care about the rest of the people. We're under the illusion of inclusion, that we have somehow made it to the other side. It's like these little Black people don't matter. So far as that's concerned, yes, we are our own worst enemy because we don't believe in pulling anybody else up. It's like, I have my degree, I have this, I have that, now you get yours, I don't care about you. And then again, in a way, we're not our own worst enemies because of systemic racism. I'm quite sure you know about the Black codes, redlining, Jim Crow. It's just been rehashed in a different form. It's just been put a pretty ribbon on it, you know. And as you know, after 1865, the ratification and the 14th Amendment, how it was like mass incarceration. It's just like modern day slavery. It's just this whole system, as we as Black people as a whole are in bad shape. Well, that's how I can say about that. We are not in good shape as a people compared to other people, especially with the wealth.
I just want to say this on that comment, Sister Sheba. The way I look at it, that all that has been done to us, you talking about slavery, Jim Crow, all the tricks and different things, and the amount of negative mindset that has been pushed at Black people. I think we are a gigantic miracle that scares the world in some ways because we have survived all that.
Well, that's
We
true.
have survived all that, and then we are still rising.
Yes, all that Chinese slavery, yes.
But at the same time, the battle's not over, and they are using a lot of new and different tricks, the internet, the subliminal seduction, all of these particular things. But when we're aware of that, we have a chance to combat that. So I just like to throw that in also. Sister Karen, what is your opinion on the subject matter we're having?
Well, to your question, where are we going? I feel like some of the other ones have said that's a deep, that's a deep question that's hard to just answer in a short statement. But I believe it depends on us. I do believe, I think about, all I can think about is to hear America, as big as they are, to admit that the Taliban beat them. The Taliban army beat them. They had to admit it, and you know why I think that happened? Despite their, what they tell us in the media, how horrible people they may be. We don't really know that. We haven't been there, and yes, they have some Civil War issues, I agree with, but apparently they have some very, very tight-knit, strong background in order for them to just lay back. Just think, all these years they laid back on the outskirts, out of the way. And then as soon as the United States left, they took over the country, days or less, and see, sometimes I think that's how we need to be. While our enemy is thinking about tools, how to destroy us, we work together as a team. When that moment comes, we be ready to be up and running. Yes, that we, there's a saying in the Bible where it talks about the Prince of Persia. I believe it was, I think it was Elijah, I believe it was, where he was saying the Prince of Persia hindered me, but he didn't stop me, or it was David, one of them, and I think that's the way we should be in life. We should prepare, because we're going to get our break. If Oprah could do it, Tyler Perry, Snoop Dogg, Aretha Franklin, and so many other very, very extremely successful Black people in the world. Yes. We cannot keep making excuses of what happened. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, but it's time out for that. It's time out for us they're gonna continue to throw darts our way, but it's up to us to get to the next level in life. We have our own boat to stop ourselves from drowning. We can stop ourselves from drowning. You know, it's up to us. And I believe that we can do it like we're doing now, having our communication, talking to one another, letting each other say what they have to say. But I believe we are our help. Whether this brother, that brother help us, is somebody else who wants to help us, where we can come together as a team and we can help each other to get to the top. But first of all, we have to prepare.
Yes, sister. I agree with that. I believe, especially today, we have the opportunity like no other time in our history. We have the opportunity today, like we don't have the same challenges that we had before. We have a new day. Yes, we have challenges, but they're different. And we have the opportunity today to rise above. Brother Warren.
All right, well, let me just say this, Sister Karen, I don't know you, I just met you, but I'm a fan already. I am a student of Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinan. I'm also a student of the Egyptian mystery system. And in studying the Egyptian mystery system, I also studied the Kabbalion, and there are 7 principles in the Kabbalion that teaches us, and these are 7 principles or 7 laws that operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Whether you know these laws exist or not, they do. And if you violate them, you will pay a penalty for them. And it teaches us that the first law of nature is the law of mentalism, the law of mentality, which says the universe is mine. In other words, you create your reality. Whatever happens in your reality, it is because you created it. It is a very thought process that you develop in where you have created what goes on around you. And so therefore, you know, Brother Carl, you know, I talk about this all the time, responsibility and accountability. I'm not concerned with what somebody else is doing or what they have done. It's us. It starts with the man in the mirror. So on the individual level, it doesn't even start with the color or race. It starts with the individual looking through the mirror themselves. Then it spreads out to community and church and the city and the local, whatever. It begins to spread in that manner. We as a people, we haven't learned to, first of all, respect each other's opinion. If our opinion is not with the status quo, then we automatically start trying to cancel that person or down that person or do anything negative to come against what they're saying instead of hearing them out. You know, I like to relate this, and Brother Carl, I'm kind of full, so if I get to talking too long, you can shut me down. I have no problem with that. But I've just heard so many things, and I wanted to touch on so many things. We live in the past. We live off of misinformation, and we operate off of things that we have half information on. You know, I'm reminded when I look at the situation of the children of Israel in a metaphorical story who spent over 400 years in captivity. They were led out by Moses, and Moses could only take them so far. Moses couldn't take them to the promised land. It wasn't designed. It was not recorded. It was not meant for him to take them over to the promised land. But something happened when Moses died. God had, according to the story, he had angels take Moses' body and bury it with a people who numbered over 1 million or something people that knew him could not find his body. And the reason they did that is because they would have resurrected a monument and they would have praised Moses and stayed in the desert and would have never went over to conquer the promised land. And I say that because so many of us are stuck in the 60s. And don't get me wrong, I thank God for Brother Martin. I thank God for Brother Malcolm. I thank God for Thurgood Marshall. But this is a new day. It's a new time. It's time for us to bury those people. And when I say bury them, I don't mean forget their memory. When I say bury them, I mean put back the ways and the action in which they got things accomplished. That was what was needed for that time. This is not what is needed for this time. We operate off of misinformation. We run with half truths, and we operate off of emotions, and we don't have an intellectual understanding of the things that's being done. Even when you get into the look of the political parties, I look at it now and how things are so backwards. If people actually understood from a political standpoint, it was the Republicans who basically ended slavery. They voting in women's rights, and because things are not even understanding on that end now, the Republican Party has been deemed to be the racist party and not understanding politics as they are. We have to go down through the history and understand everything that we talk about and what we do and why we do it.
You know, I want to jump in real quick, and that's beautiful, Brother Houston, because that's really where I wanted to go when you all couldn't hear me at first, right? It's because everything is evolving.
Yes.
Everything is evolving. And when it evolves, so we take the principles of the 60s and we ask ourselves the question, what do those principles look like today? Right? So we began to understand that we have to evolve. So where are we going? There's a verse in the Holy Quran that says to us, the angels and
Your
Allah
connection
talking.
is slowing up again.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. I guess the enemy don't want me to talk today.
Keep trying, Brother Eric. Let's see if it clears up. It's not there, Brother Eric. It's still
well, I'm making a connection.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, I understand and I agree with that. This is a new day, and very much so, there are new ways that we have to, because if we think about it, in the 60s, you know, of course they didn't have the internet. They barely had TV. And it was a different whole format and different, we were different people. Maybe we were much closer as a people back then. We're a bit more fragmented today, and the internet has a great impact on how we react and how we see the world today. So yes, we have to have different people, but it also gives us new opportunities. It gives us new opportunities to be able to share, to be able to connect, to be able to impact. So we have to use these new tools and reach out and build circles, in my opinion. Where what I mean by circles is small units of group. For instance, we could say this is a circle right here of people that have come together to have this conversation. And when we can connect circles, then we can grow those circles into a larger, impactful community. We can do that. Let me go into a couple of other issues of the Black community and the soul of our community. Recently, I went on a trip to Memphis, Tennessee. And in Memphis, Tennessee, you know, you have the Civil Rights Museum where Dr. King got shot. And it's so much information on the wall. And I was trying to share with my son, because my son comes up in this day and age where he's confused about whether all this Blackness is real, or are we being sensitive? Are we being overly sensitive? And I tried to share with him. I said, son, do you see all this on the wall? Will we really be just being sensitive? And they put all this on the wall. And I'm not sure it impacted him yet, but he will never forget those images and the conversation that I had, no matter where he goes. He's at Tyler Junior College now. And so I'm praying that it has some impact. But, you know, today, different things like Kanye West may have impact, or the baby has impact, and you got to combat or give clarity to all those things that are going on, and try to give clarity and a perspective to him so that he can understand in the new age. Sister Cassandra, what do you say about some of the new artists today, like Kanye, like R. Kelly, like all these people out here who are representing? We have some positive people represent. I think LeBron James is a great representative. I think Steph Curry is a great representative, but we also have the baby, we have Kanye West, we have R. Kelly. So share what you feel about some of the artists and the people who are out there and how they're represented?
You know, was holding that conversation today with one of my clients, and it's a real issue for me, because what we were talking about is that these images have become such powerful role models for our young people. Whereas we knew what a businessman looked like. You know, when we saw in our day, he's going to have on a suit, he's going to have on a nice shirt, a tie, he's going to have a certain presentation and deportment. And he commanded and he exhibited a certain amount of respect. In this day, you can't really determine that from the images that you see. They don't have clear cut role models, people that everybody knew in a Black community, certain people and icons, and they have no understanding at all who these people are. If you talk to somebody that's young, and what they're looking to as the standard, they don't even recognize. I deal with it frequently as I'm counseling with a lot of young people. It's mind-boggling to me, because certain things, whether you went to church or not, certain things you just knew about relationship with Christ and being saved and having a certain amount of integrity, as even if your parents didn't go to church, it was certain principles that you were raised to have that's completely absent in the younger generation. And when I find myself just educating them on basic morality, it's very, very strange to me, because I don't understand what happened in one generation. But I wanted to say something that Ms. Sheba said. I wanted to address that. She made a point about when certain of us get to a certain educational level, then we're not bringing others with others, going back, you know, making sure that we're bringing others behind us. I can actually say that I don't necessarily see that, and that's a blessing. Not only myself, I have a tremendous amount of education. I've never stopped going to school since I graduated with my first degree in 1988. I have a tremendous amount of education. Started a program this week, and starting with Cornell University out of New York, which we all know is an Ivy League university, doing another master's program through them next month. And then I'll be starting a doctorate next year sometime of 2023. One thing that me and my friends and anybody that I know, doesn't matter if they're multimillionaires, whoever they are, we have always looked back, always mentored. I have personally, between 2019 and today, I have personally contributed over $100,000 worth of cash and resources to help African Americans. I have bought laptops. I have paid so much money it's just unreal helping.
But can I interject on one thing about that? One of the problems is if the people who control the media interject into our young people's mind what it means to be popular, what it means to be with the in crowd. You know, for instance, there was a thing that they promoted and only allowed gangster rap music because they wanted to promote the prison systems. I'm sure you've heard of that story. And so many times on TV today, they are promoting, I want to say, abnormal relationships. I,
Mhm.
I don't want to go too deep into it, but what I'm talking about is
Brother, don't be scared to speak.
I'm
I
not
mean,
scared. I'm not scared to speak, but what I'm
Yes.
saying is, just 20 years ago, you didn't see two men kissing on TV,
Of course not.
but you see that everywhere today,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and that has an impact on our kids. You know,
Mhm.
when I
Yes.
was on the trip to Memphis, you know, I went to the fast food restaurant and was in the drive-thru with my kids and the family, and you know, I'm bending down, I'm listening at the lady at the window, and she's telling me, I'm saying, okay. But then I get up to the window and it's a dude with a beard, with a woman's voice. What's going on?
Mhm.
So that's what I'm talking about. So you got a positive rising culture against a negative uh, uh, culture being promoted. And I do not believe that that is, in the long run, beneficial for the strength of the Black community. Sister Sheba, she mentioned you, and what do you say about some of the images within our culture, the baby, R. Kelly, some of the other people? What do you say about some of the images that are out there?
First of all, I would like to congratulate her for helping all the people that she did help. And I was basically speaking from a lot like personal experience of people that I have ran into and seen what they do. So far as when they get a certain level economically, it's like they just go totally left field. And so far as all these negative images, like music people, the singers and stuff, I don't too much really listen to them because I think it's a bunch of garbage. I mean, they're not really
But that's
putting.
what our kids are listening at, Sheba.
I know, and it's like it's awful because a lot of girls and young women think that you have to get naked, and it's disgusting how they just sit there and gyrate their butts and just open their legs open, and they just have dressed and they naked and just parading all up and down the stage. I remember a time where you could be a woman and be fully clothed and be a millionaire, make a decent amount of money, but I think today it's just totally garbage. And like I said, you know, the way the guys are dressed, they wear purple hair, nails, they're wearing dresses and heels. It's like promoting punkism. You know, it's okay to be a punk. It's okay to be a bulldagger or gay. And, it's all,
And my belief is that is a part of the subliminal attack upon our community.
it is, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sister Karen, you have a comment on that? I'll come back to you, Brother Warren. Sister Karen? I can't hear you, Sister Karen. Unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. Yes, I agree with you on that end, that a woman should be a woman, a man should be a man. I believe a woman should carry herself, I try to teach my teens and tell them, a young lady should carry herself as a lady. And they like, well, what do you mean as a lady? I'm saying, well, when I say as a lady, I mean, you don't have to have your clothes all the way up to your neck, your dress all the way down to your feet. But I mean, it's I have a twin brother who he told a story that he had heard. I think it came from Farrakhan, I believe it was, where it talks about precious pearls, precious diamonds, precious gems. Every single precious gem, every single precious diamond is covered. When you find a pearl, it's in a tight case, with the clam, And so I believe, and I believe Farrakhan, that message that he was trying to tell ladies, the importance of respecting yourself and honoring your body is very important. Of course, I mean, he's not talking about you have to look like the Flying Nun, if those of you all know what that was back then, of course. But no, but he's just saying to carry yourself, to be like a lady. Don't, men are drawn by certain things. I'm not trying to give no excuses for a man, but men are drawn by certain things. And so I think if we're our brother's keeper, then we should carry ourselves accordingly, and again, I'm not making excuses because I never think it's okay for a man to rape a woman or to violate a woman. But I do believe that sometimes certain situations can cause a weaker man, or a weaker person to go left when they shouldn't go left. But I do have issues because of course I'm a very spirit-filled woman, you know, and I do believe that a woman should be a woman, a man should be a man. And I believe the music that we use, you know, it should be uplifting. We should build, and we shouldn't, you know, the music shouldn't be used to tear down one another, to tear down this person or that person. You know, I think everything we should do should be to build and to uplift. And I think if we learn to build each other up and to uplift one another, I believe we would have a much better society.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to share this. I tell my daughter, as well as I tell my female students at the school, if you're being a lady, you can go into a room of men, they talking, they cussing, they doing all of this. But if you walk in and you're a lady, the whole atmosphere changes.
Mhm.
Because they are gonna change because a lady has walked in. They're gonna lower their voice, they're gonna stop cursing, they're gonna try to represent themselves as much more respectful. But if you go in cursing and being like them, then of course they're gonna not see you in a respectful way, and then they're gonna say, oh, well, she ain't nobody, let's just keep cussing and talking stuff. So it's a big difference the way you carry yourself as a lady. You have power. And I try to tell my daughter that all the time. Brother Warren, the same subject, the perspective of how the images, the entertainers, even the politicians, how does that impact the Black community? How is they representing the Black community? And what does it mean for the soul of the Black community?
Well, you know, I kind of follow Brother Malcolm on his thoughts as it relates to this. Nowhere in the white community are you going to find football players and musicians and things of that nature as leaders. But you got to also figure out why that has happened in our community. Well, the first thing it started with the church. And because when slavery first ended, the church became the only thing that Black people could control without white folks. So that's why the church became such a powerful force, a powerful entity in the Black community. And as we begin to grow and then the celebrities begin to grow, then those celebrities became our leaders. But celebrities should not be our leaders. We should, when you start looking at leaders, we look at people who are engineers and people who are scientists and people who have built cities. These are the type of people we should look to instead of entertainers and musicians, in which I am a musician. But these things are not what true leadership is. We can take all the things and all the people that we so proclaim to be leaders, and do we have the knowledge to build our own city and maintain it? No, we don't. No, we don't. And these are the things that I look at. And so how can we, and one thing I discovered is how to think. My mentor, who's originally from Montgomery, Alabama, and has practiced law in this city for 30 years. He told me something when I started to get my law degree. When he first told me these words, I had no idea what he meant, but he told me, he said, by the time you finish this course and you obtain your law degree, please be careful with your family and friends. He said, because they are going to sound like idiots to you. And I had no clue what that meant. But just as sure as he told me that, when I finished my law degree, what he said was very, very true. And so it let me know from that standpoint how we as a people emotional and still yet uneducated to a point that we don't want to bring that level of thinking up. Because what I learned in law school was to get away from emotions and stop reacting from emotions and get into facts. And so therefore I use a formula that I learned in law school when it comes to making any decision. We call it what's called the Fireact Method. The acronym is FIRAC. In other words, facts. Any situation has a set of facts. You need all the facts. After you have the facts, what is the issue based around those facts? Once you know what the issue, and the issue is going to always ask the question based on the facts, then what are the rules? Get the rules, and after you have the rules, apply them. And after you apply the rules, then you can come up with a conclusion. Fireact: facts, issues, rules, application, and conclusion. And we begin to act in that manner, because when we begin to act, then we understand law, not just law as it relates to the United States, or law as it relates to the state or the city of Houston, but law as it relates to natural law and universal law, and the laws that our God has put in place that runs this whole universe.
Yes, sir. Very true. I'm one that looks at balance on both sides. We got to do for ourselves, but we also still have to acknowledge the things that, because if we don't acknowledge the things that we have been done to us, how can we correct them? We have to still unlearn some things, do some things new. What the minister Jeramogi once said was, we got to get over our acceptance of Black inferiority that has been embedded in us, and certainly get away from the declaration of Black inferiority. So we have to do both of those things. We have to
You
do both
definitely
of
do,
those things, but we certainly have to believe that we can. And if we look at our overcoming all of these different things, I think we can have a miraculous aura and understanding of who we are and what we can accomplish. We are getting toward the end of our show, the 94th episode of the Sourceseeker Hour. I'm your host, Baruti Carl Alexander. This has been a great show. We thank our brother, Eric Muhammad, who was with us earlier. We thank our sister, Alderman Murray, who was with us earlier. I just want to talk about some of the images that I see that are positive on TV today. I think The Godfather of Harlem is a very positive show. Have you all seen that? The Godfather of Harlem. I think you should go see it. It talks about three different people in history. Malcolm X, of course, Adam Clayton Powell, and Bumpy Johnson. And it gives a representation that may not be totally true, but not everything that they tell about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson is true either. So, but it's a very positive, and I think it's a good representation for our young people to see. Judas and the Black Messiah I was surprised that they put that out there for people to see. Judas and the Black Messiah, if you don't know, that's the story of Fred Hampton in Chicago, who was killed at 21, assassinated by the police. Watchmen, the television series, talked about the Tulsa riots and a lot of the background of that. That, as well as Lovecraft Country, both talked about that. And I think these are some very positive representations. And there's a lot out there. I think, Cassandra, you had said earlier that back in the day, we were recognized by our suit and the way we carried ourselves. Yes, that's true, but we got to acknowledge that sometimes the power is not the one in the front with the suit or the one with the on the TV in front of the screen. The power is the person who hires the person to be in front of the screen. The banker, there were two Black men that were the owners of the bank, and they had the white man out there as the representative. And it's a very powerful movie. Check it out. So there's a lot of different ways, and it's not always being out front that is the way that it shows the power or has the power. So there's so many different perspectives. And when we talk about the soul of Black people, we have to understand that there's not just one way. We've talked about Farrakhan. He said that the number 7 has so many different variations. 4 plus 3, 3 plus 4, 2 plus 5, 5 plus 2, but all of them equal to the number 7. So there's different ways to do a thing as long as you're moving forward in a positive direction. And of course, we want to build circles. And this is at the end of our show. I want to give everybody a final statement and tell us how we can reach you if people want to reach you out there. And this has been a great show. And we're going to have another show, or many shows on this subject, talking about the soul of Black America and how we can have a better soul, a better culture, a better strength and power for ourselves as we move forward. And this has been a start, and I appreciate everybody. Karen, can you share with the people your final statement, and if somebody wants to reach you?
Yes, I would love for us to continue to have our group meetings and where we can all listen to each other's hearts and each other's views, you know, and respect one another's views. And I can be contacted at KW Coney, CONEY, at yahoo.com.
Thank you, Sister Karen. Sister Cassandra?
Yes, it has been my extreme pleasure to participate in this dialogue on this evening. I want to remind any one of us who God has blessed to have achieved certain economic and educational levels to be that role model. We can't save everybody, but we can save somebody. We can speak into their lives. We can mentor. I've been doing it since I graduated from college. I've mentored literally hundreds, if not thousands, of students, of not just nurses and nursing students, but college students in general. Have spent a lot of money on educating students and buying books and computers and all sorts of things. So you may not be able to do as much as the next person, but you can do something. You can help somebody get to that next level. And so it is my extreme pleasure to participate in this forum once again. I am the owner. I am the of the Victoria Barnes Mental Health and Wellness Center. I am a registered nurse with multiple certifications in many areas and multiple degrees. And so I'm always available to speak to any groups. Somebody asks, they always ask, well, what is your honorarium? And my answer is always, I don't have an honorarium. I don't care if you give me anything or if you don't. God has blessed me tremendously financially. I just want to help somebody be free. I want to help some child get to the next level. And I just want to be a blessing and do my part. So God bless you, Mr. Carl Alexander, for
Thank
once
you.
again
Bless
giving
you.
honor and this privilege. And I pray multiplied blessings to continue to flow in your life. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sister Sheba.
Hi. Okay, if anybody wants to contact me, they can always contact me through you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I'll
yeah.
tell her. I'll give the word.
And another thing I wanted to say earlier, it was something that Brother Warren had said, something about what we think we manifested in our own world. And the first thing came to me, I said, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that we manifested chattel slavery? That's what I wanted to ask him. I'm like, I don't know about that. So.
Well, that goes back,
Hmm?
if you want me to respond to it,
Yeah,
do I have
go
time to
ahead.
respond to that, brother?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That goes back to, if we look at history and slavery, a lot of us, we want to think, or we take into concept that the white man just stepped on the continent of Africa and just had his way with black folks. That didn't happen that way. It was because of the arguments between the tribal kings. They actually sold us over into slavery. So you have to also look at your generational. Sometimes we also suffer from generational curses, and those things have to be broken. And so when you sit down and you look at it and all together and bring balance to the situation, you can fix the situation. Because I don't see myself as a victim of anything,
Okay.
at all.
Okay, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
Continue with Sheba with your final statement, as well as how can people reach you?
Oh yeah, they can always reach me through you. You know how to contact me. Anyway, I mean,
That's true.
I'm always floating around on Facebook as Sheba, Sheba. I'm in Rotterdam, but you type in Sheba and my face will pop up. So you can always find me floating around on Facebook, or they can contact me through you because you always know how to contact me. And I enjoyed being on the show with some interesting topics, and I learned a whole lot. A lot.
Thank you, sister. Peace and power. And Brother Warren, finish us up on the Sourceseeker Hour. Your final statement to share.
Man. I really have enjoyed myself. You know, Michael Jackson said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror, and I'm asking if he'll change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make the change. So that's where we have to start with us, because we cannot change anybody else. The only person that you can change is yourself. And so therefore I can give information and try to persuade. And why do we have all these shows and do the things we do, and people spend billions of dollars on advertisement? That's because they're trying to persuade you. But you have to ask yourself a question when someone is trying to persuade you. What is their reason? Why are they trying to persuade you? What do they have behind the scenes that you can't see in the persuasions that they're trying to get you to do? And so therefore you have to be able to stand for yourself, to be able to think for yourself. When nobody else will stand with you, you got to stand alone sometimes. That's the way you have to do. And that's my motto. That's why I even came up with the Know Thyself radio show, because the key in life, I don't care who you know, until you know yourself, you haven't known anything about yourself. You haven't known anything about this world. You haven't known anything about God. You cannot know anything until you know yourself. And that's the main thing a lot of people are scared to get acquainted with, is themselves. You have people walking around 70, 80, 90 years old, don't even know who they are.
I want to just interject on that also. There's a book called A Peculiar Institution. You might be familiar with it. They sat down and they determined and they encouraged and they set up a system that continued for many years on telling Black people who they were, and the TV, as you said, advertising, but so many different parts of TV and radio are set up to tell you who you are. And a lot of times, if you don't know yourself, or you have a situation that is confusing, it's hard to decipher who you are. And that's what happens to a lot of our young people. They going around, don't know who they are, and there's no things to help them understand who they are. So it's a very difficult process to know yourself, to truly know yourself. And we are not taught to read. We're not taught to go beyond the footnotes. We're not taught to go beyond the references. And so we might listen to the first person that tells us in a smooth way who we are and what we're supposed to do. So that's part of the battle that we go through to know ourselves. So yes, I agree with you, but it's not an easy thing, Brother Warren.
Well, nobody said it was going to be easy. We used to sing a song when I was in church. I don't believe he brought me this far. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. Nobody said the road would be easy, but I don't believe he brought me this far. So that's the way we have to look at that. I'm a victim, man. I push forward. I push ahead. You know, I don't even refer, and not that and some people take this around. I know I'm a Black man. Let me say that. I know that when I look in the mirror. But when I walk out there every day, I don't consider myself an African American. I just consider myself an American. I know who I am. I know what I look like. I'm out there to do business, and that's my focus. I'm not focused on who's trying to beat me, who feel. If you got a problem with me being Black, that's your problem. It ain't mine. And you take it and you run with it. I'm focusing on conquering. That's what I was created for. I was created for dominion, and that's what I'm going to do.
Very, very powerful. This has been the Sourceseeker Hour. This is our 94th episode. It's been a great show. I want to thank all the guests. And next week, September 16th, we will be having a show on critical race theory, a big subject, a big controversy out there right now. It's going to be a great show. But I thank all of our guests and this powerful subject. We have to continue. We have to continue talking about it and to know ourselves and to help others know themselves. So thank everybody. This is the Sourceseeker Hour. I'm your host, Baruti Carl Alexander. We'll see you next time. We thank you very much. And everybody take care. Thank you.